And we're back for our daily college basketball best bets here on Friday, January 16th. Yesterday, a 4-1 day. We needed it and we got it. Everything hit yesterday except for the Lumberjacks of Northern Arizona going on the road to Sacramento, California, and ultimately falling to the Sacramento State Hornets of all teams. But regardless, a good day yesterday. We kicked off the day with a big one with Albany. I know, again, the odds kind of got scrambled after I made the video last night, but regardless, UAlbany covers, UAlbany wins. We had some other big victories yesterday with Green Bay going on the road and winning at Cleveland State. Shout out to a big victory for Florida Atlantic beating Wichita State. Then how about Cal Baptist going on the road and winning at Albany Christian, the same Albany Christian Wildcats team that is currently being investigated for gambling, which, by the way, I just want to put this out there, the Buffalo Bulls are also on that list of teams that are being busted for the gambling scandal currently in collegiate sports. I want my win back. I want my money back on Buffalo versus Eastern Carolina when they, I feel like, intentionally blew a 25-point lead. I don't forget, okay? I just want to put that out there. The Buffalo Bulls, you owe us one. Buffalo Bulls. Regardless, though, a 4-1 day yesterday. Again, everything hit except for Northern Arizona, so let's look for more of the same success today. And in all fairness, a very limited slate today with only 7 games available. We're gonna make do. And folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. Later today, we're gonna have our NBA best bets on the channel, and we've already posted our NFL and college football playoff or college football championship predictions. Go make sure to check out both of those videos, best bets for the NFL, later today. And our UFC 324 Gagey versus Pimblett full card predictions are out on Greedo Plays MMA later today. Okay, on to the first of our 5 best bets for college basketball today. Hopefully I've, remember the timestamps. I know if you've watched the channel, you know I'm not the best on the outside of setup timestamps for the videos, obviously, because there's no graphics today, but I will try my hardest. First best bet of the video, we start things off in the Big East between the Providence Friars and the Creighton Blue Jays in Providence, Rhode Island, and I am going with the Friars to win. I'm going to take Providence at home at plus money. I'm not taking this, again, I'm not going to say, oh, they're due, they need to win one. I do believe this is a very good spot in terms of a statistical matchup, or I guess just how both these teams play. I think the style of play really favors the Providence Friars. Why? This is a high-scoring team. We just saw it the other night. Obviously, Providence did not win their last game at home against Villanova, and we did have the Wildcats to win that one, so it worked out well for us. But Providence is a very high-scoring basketball team, obviously, and they've lost 3 consecutive games in some rough spots. They played UConn at home in Rhode Island, losing by 5 to a top 10 team, top 5 team in the country. They went to Xavier, they go to Cincinnati and lose the Wildcats. The Musketeers. We just saw the Musketeers a couple days ago beat the Butler Bulldogs at home. And then most recently, obviously, that game in Providence, Rhode Island, where the Friars went out and beat Villanova. And we didn't know at the time, and it wasn't really revealed until right before the game, that Jason Edwards was not going to play for Providence. Jason Edwards, obviously the best player and leading scorer for the Friars, former Vanderbilt Commodore last season, comes on over to Providence. He's been their best player this season. He was randomly out, was ruled out with an injury right before the game started. I don't know if he's going to play tonight, but I do believe even if he doesn't, I think Providence is going to be okay. I mean, they found a lot of scoring in that matchup against Nova. They made multiple comeback attempts in that one. Ultimately, though, they are held off by the 6th-year senior in Devin Askew and the Nova Wildcats. But Providence, man, they made their runs. And watching that game, having Villanova, there were multiple times in that game I was very concerned where I just thought Providence was going to make that comeback, and at home, too. I mean, again, that was a difficult spot for Villanova, who played really well in the first half, as they just saw the Friars continue to chip away at that lead as the game continued. But with Jason Edwards out of the lineup, and again, I believe from what I have seen, questionable today. I will tell you this, I'm recording this video at 12:30, so I don't entirely know yet if Jason Edwards is going to play, but given the limited slate, we can't really avoid a game like this. But I am still going to take Providence even without Jason Edwards, and I think we get better odds if he does not play, because they found production elsewhere. Hell, the Friars had 3 guys score over 20 points, and that's missing Jason Edwards, who is an 18 points per game scorer, again, by far best player on the team coming on over from the Southeastern Conference. You lose Jason Edwards, okay, well, no need to fear. Here's Jalen Sellers with 24 points. Here's Stephon Vax with 21 points, and Jameer Jones scores 23 as well. Now, they didn't get really any production out of anybody else, but those 3 guys combined for 70 points, and the Friars score 82. So You know how Providence plays is a high-scoring, up-tempo type team. They're going to shoot the three-point ball quite often. They only shot 32% against Villanova, going 8 for 25 from beyond the arc, but a competitive game against Villanova without their best player on the court. As for the Creighton Blue Jays, this is a team that obviously has a much better record in the Big East so far this year, as we look at, obviously, Providence being at 1-5, Creighton 5-2 so far in the conference. Creighton, though, has played some tight games recently. Again, the record is what it is, 5-2. Started off the year with a massive victory in Big East play over in Cincinnati against Xavier, then put together a win over Marquette at home by 21 points. Then they beat Butler by 4 points. But this is where the struggles start. Now, I will say, the win at Villanova, phenomenal, but their last 4 games in the Big East, a loss on the road to Seton Hall, low-scoring affair, obviously a typical Seton Hall Pirates-type game. They go to Villanova and win by 4 points. St. John's comes into town, and that's what the Johnnies are supposed to do. I mean, I'm not surprised Pitino's team came into Creighton and dominated them, but a 90-73 victory for St. John's. And then just the Blue Jays barely get by Georgetown. Again, I'm really high on the Hoyas. Well, I was high on the Hoyas. I like Georgetown basketball, but we know that team's nothing to note. I mean, obviously, they're 1-5 in the conference, too. I just believe this is an ultimate trap game for Creighton. You're going on the road, taking on a Providence team that I don't think's been playing horrible basketball. Again, you know what the Friars play. If you watched a Providence game, it's almost the same script every night. I mean, they look great scoring-wise, but of course, they don't really play the best defense. They're not going to always get back into transition. And as we saw in their last game against Nova, a lot of turnovers in that first half, which, again, easily avoidable mistakes by Providence. I mean, they played a much cleaner second half of basketball, and then that created their big runs. And ultimately, those runs were eventually halted by Nova, but Providence made some attempts in that game. And I think if they really cleaned up that first half and just don't turn over the ball so many times, I think they're in a decent spot. So I really think Providence is not that far off from really putting a game together and straight up just winning one outright in the Big East. And I think that is tonight. Now, with or without Jason Edwards playing, I think they can still get it done. Creighton's a team that's just been playing on the edge recently. They've been winning games, sure, but competitive victory over Georgetown and just stylistically how this game turns out, I believe it favors the Friars quite a bit. I mean, you look at Creighton, their leading scorers are Josh Dix, Austin Swartz, Jason Green, but I mean, these are guys who average 12, 11, and 10 points per game. You know the big numbers Providence puts up. With or without Jason Edwards, we saw they had 3 players in their last game score over 20 points. I believe, again, stylistically, the matchup favors the Friars, and they're at home in Rhode Island as well. Obviously, not a close trip, per se, for Creighton. I'm going to go Providence here. Give me the Friars at home to win the basketball game at plus 100. We get it at plus money for now. Again, maybe Edwards' availability changes the line, but I'm going to go Providence at home to pick up the win. Give me the Friars plus 100 to kick off the day. On to our next one. Again, limited games today, so again, we don't have the biggest selection, but our second best bet of the video will now come in the Mid-American Conference. Obviously, we talked about Buffalo a little bit earlier, as now we have 2 other teams in the MAC, and trust me, there is a Buffalo relation in a second. But Toledo goes on the road to Kent, Ohio to take on Kent State. Obviously, 2 Ohio teams taking each other on here. We look at Kent State, had them the other day on the same day in which we had Villanova to beat the Providence Friars. We had Kent State to beat Buffalo. And I said this the other day, I mean, legitimately the same exact game script in both of those games. They went the same exact way. We talked about it too. I mean, both those games I was watching them at the same time. They both started at the same time. There was a point in time where the Kent-Buffalo game had the same exact score as Villanova versus Providence. But regardless, I mean, they both ended the same way. A 5 or 6 point victory for the favorites, and we had both of the favorites on the road. So Kent State goes to Buffalo and win. I know Buffalo is, very in hot water right now, I shall say, obviously, with the gambling scandal. And there's, a bunch of clips that are going around the internet of, oh, is this, have they rigged this game? Have they not? Are they trying to intentionally lose? Are they point shaving on purpose? I mean, this thing's going to get nasty, and that's unfortunately what happens in college basketball when, when sports betting is so prominent. And obviously, you got players who at Buffalo, right, and these other small schools like, I don't know, Albany and Christian, who aren't making the NIL money that other schools and other players are being given. But anyways, that's besides the point. We're looking here at the MAC, Kent State versus Toledo. The MAC's such a fascinating conference because, I mean, there's so many good teams in this conference right now. Obviously, the Miami of Ohio Redhawks are legitimately going to be an at-large team this year. It's a damn shame they're not ranked in the AP poll yet, and I don't know what we're waiting for. Miami of Ohio 18-0, 6-0, leading currently the MAC conference. They already have a victory over the other best team in the MAC and last year's champions in the Akron Zips. Again, we are legitimately looking at a 2-bid MAC this season between Miami of Ohio and Akron. But the thing is, Kent and Toledo really aren't that far off those teams. And then there's everybody else. I mean, I think you can say the next tier is like Ohio and Buffalo. I don't know how how seriously I can treat the Bulls right now, but Toledo and Kent are just a slight tier below, obviously 1A and 1B in the conference, Miami of Ohio and Akron, and again, the proof is in the one victory the Red Hawks already have this season over the Zips. But anyways, Kent State versus Toledo tonight over in Kent, Ohio. I'm going to trust the Zips, I'm going to trust the Golden Flashes, to get the victory here. I do like Kent State, man. This team has put it together all year long. That Buffalo victory, I mean, not coming from behind, but really just dominating that entire outing against the Bulls, down early, but just put their foot on the gas and really just dominate that basketball game. Yes, the Bulls made their runs, but ultimately Kent State winning that game at home by 6 points, coming off of their L right prior to that game against Central Michigan. But I like Kent State quite a bit. Again, this is a top tier MAC team. I think they are slightly better than Toledo. I know I just put these two teams in the same tier, but I would consider Kent State to be the better team. Toledo coming off a massive victory against Ohio, beating the Bobcats at home 101-85. That's right after their game against Miami of Ohio, obviously the undefeated Red Hawks, and you saw Toledo try to get their crowd really involved in that game. They did the gold rush, as they called it. I think it was a gold rush or a yellow out. I think gold rush sounds a little bit better. They had their entire crowd dressed up in gold, for the limited people that are actually at the game, and they then proceeded to get blown out by Miami of Ohio, who's just that good. Shout out to Brant Byers and the guys over there in Oxford, Ohio. But regardless, Toledo and Kent State both 4-1 in the Mid-American Conference this season. I just think Kent State has a pretty clear advantage at home. Obviously, the matchup to watch tonight, I mean, they're not going to be guarding each other, but the two best players on both teams and by far two best leading scorers on both teams are Derico Gillespie and Sonny Wilson from Toledo. Guys, Gillespie's paint presence, though, is just absurd. And we saw him take over and dominate that Buffalo game when his team absolutely needed it. You saw the and ones that Gillespie got. You saw the doubles that he commanded. That would then open up shooters on the perimeter. I mean, so much of the defensive focus against Kent State is on Derico Gillespie, and he's just that good. Again, he averages 19 points per game, and Kent State at home, too, now. I really like the Golden Flashes here, but Gillespie, again, leads college basketball currently in rebounds per game with 12.5, averages 19 points per game, and then you also get Morgan Safford, their guard, who averages 14 per night. This is a good Kent State team. Unfortunately for them, they just get kind of lost in the mix and lost in the shuffle, considering, well, they have a team in their own conference they have one team in their conference that's undefeated, hasn't lost a game yet, that's going to be an at-large team, or if they don't win their conference tourney, and then Akron, who is the preseason favorites and the winners of the Mid-American last season, who are also very good too. So it's a tough spot, both, in all fairness, Kent and Toledo are put in, but I think Kent gets this one at home. I just think they're a better scoring team, and I really look at Toledo, I'm like, I don't know what your matchup is for Gillespie, and I don't know how you stop Gillespie. It's definitely Sean Craig. I mean, Craig is their solution. He plays their big, essentially. Sean Craig averages 13-8 per game, senior out of Sylvania, Ohio. I just don't have the matchup against legitimately the best big currently in the Mid-American Conference. I'm going to go with Derico Gillespie and the Kent State Golden Flashes to win this game at home against the Toledo Rockets. I'm going to go Kent State to win and cover the 4.5 points. Again, it's just a levels thing. I know, again, I put them on the same tier, but at home, I do just think Kent State is a pretty clear advantage. I got to go with Kent State at home to cover 4.5 points. On to our third best bet of the video. We will now move to the Big 12. And you saw in the thumbnail the biggest game of the day, I think you can say, as the Baylor Bears go on the road to take on the Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas with a massive victory earlier in the week. We were wrong. Okay, I'm not going to deny it. Iowa State, I should have saw it coming with their poor play going into the game, obviously in Lawrence, Kansas. But Iowa State, undefeated number 3 ranked team, goes on the road and tries to put down the Kansas Jayhawks. And you know what? Kansas is still Kansas. What can I say? Darren Peterson is an elite player in college basketball this season. Is he going to be the number 1 overall pick? Likely not. That's going to be Brigham Young's AJ DeBonsta. But I mean, Darren Peterson is an elite player in the sport, and he really puts this Kansas Jayhawks team on his back. But man, when Kansas gets going, they are dangerous. And we talked about this throughout the course of the year for them, right? I mean, like a player like Melvin Council Jr., obviously I'll always look back at that game they had over in Raleigh, North Carolina against North Carolina State, where Council just goes out there and nails 1,000,000 threes out of nowhere. It's a player who's a 14% three-point shooter who goes out and nails 8 of them, give or take, to win the game in Raleigh, North Carolina. But I mean, this is just a purely different team when they have Darren Peterson on the court. Darren Peterson, in games in which he's played so far this year, averages 22 points per night. Didn't have a monstrous effort against Iowa State, but the difference again in that game was, well, Iowa State offensively didn't show up, and everyone started contributing for Kansas, and it wasn't just Darren Peterson. I don't want to call it hero ball because legitimately he's just that good, and that's what Kansas needs to win basketball games, but they got production elsewhere, and that was absolutely massive in that game against Iowa State, who, yes, struggled to score, and Kansas went into halftime up 21 points against this team, but the overall spread looked a little bit better. Darren Peterson scores 16 points. Trey White goes out there and scores 19 points. Melvin Council Jr. scores 15. They had scoring up and down the rotation finally for the first time in a while, and if Kansas can put this all together, obviously they're dangerous. At the end of the day, they're still the Kansas Jayhawks. What can I say? At the end of the day, they're still Kansas. So if they can put things all together, they're going to be a tourney team, and they have the second best player, if not the best player in college basketball when he's healthy, as he is now. Of course, a lot was made with Darren Peterson's basically 2-3 week absences, obviously due to injury, but when he's healthy, yeah, of course they're dangerous. They're Kansas, and they've got Darren Peterson. They're taking on the Baylor Bears at home. Obviously, the Baylor Bears have gotten a lot of hate over the past year, I'll say, obviously, and that's because of the addition of James Nagy, former NBA G League player, he was on an NBA roster. I'll tell you this, Nagy hasn't really done much this season. I mean, is it coming? I don't know. Baylor's obviously the team that welcomes him in. I mean, he was on the Charlotte Hornets, and now he's playing college basketball. He was drafted in 2023, I believe, by the Detroit Pistons, but you know, it is what it is. He has not made that big of an impact yet. Again, will he eventually? He's only played in 4 games. I don't know. I don't think Baylor's got the overall firepower to go to Kansas and go to Lawrence and win this one. Baylor has struggled mightily so far in Big 12 play as they are 1-3. They went to Texas Christian, lost their first game by 6 points, then had a home game against Iowa State. Cyclones beat them by 10, played Houston at home. Cougars beat them by 22, and most recently they did go to Stillwater and pick up a big victory, beating Oklahoma State by 15 points, but I got to give the advantage here to Kansas. The Jayhawks in this game are 7.5 point favorites, and that is exactly where we're going to look in this game. I can't treat Baylor all that seriously compared to this Kansas team. I mean, this is a team that has put up stinkers throughout the course of the season. They have their fair share of decent wins, but I mean, I guess they got a couple, UW and Creighton, and that's about it. I mean, the star player, again, for Baylor is going to be Cameron Carr. Carr's been phenomenal this year, averaging 20 points per game. I mean, by far their best scorer, best player. Carr in his sophomore season, obviously, I think this is his 3rd overall year of college basketball, played 2 years at Tennessee, and now here with the Baylor Bears. I mean, that step up in production has been massive. He only played 18 games over in Knoxville, but Cameron Carr's been phenomenal. I just don't think Carr and whatever other scoring you get from Baylor tonight is going to be able to keep up with the Jayhawks, and if, again, you get scoring beyond just Darren Peterson, I'm talking guys like, I'm talking Melvin Council, I'm talking Trey White. When these guys actually show up and score, yeah, they are really dangerous. And obviously you got Flory as well, their center, who casually averages 13 or 14 and 9. Are they the deepest team off the bench? No. I mean, you're going to get up and down games from players like Bryson Tiller. You're going to get up and down games from Jamari McDowell. Those guys are not going to be dependable on a nightly basis, is sure. But as long as you got Darren Peterson, Melvin Council is still shooting fairly well. I mean, Melvin Council, again, going into the NC State game was like a 16% three-point shooter. He's shooting up to, 36% now? All fairness, he wasn't taking many threes prior to the NC State game, but Ball's fighting nylon. Darren Peterson's playing well. The Jayhawks actually have momentum by beating Iowa State at home. And I don't want to, again, just completely say, they just beat Iowa State by this many points. They have to beat Baylor by this many points too. But momentum's a real thing in college basketball. And if the Jayhawks are able to beat number 3 ranked Iowa State, who I understand was having massive problems scoring into that game, but if they're able to beat Iowa State by 21 points, they should be able to beat the Baylor Bears by at least 8. So I'm going to go with Kansas at home in Lawrence to pick up the victory over the Baylor Bears. I'm going to go with the Jayhawks minus 7.5 at home from Lawrence. On now to our 4th best bet of the video. We will now go back to the Big East Conference. If you're interested, the games I'm skipping today one of the games I'm skipping, I'll just say it. Both the games I'm skipping are Loyola Chicago versus Dayton. I think the Flyers likely win the game by more than 17.5 points, but I just hate the line. Those two teams did meet earlier this year in Chicago, and for as bad as the Ramblers are, I just don't want to touch it. And the other game is the other MAC game between Ohio and Ball State. I don't know, man. 4.5 points for Ohio on the road. Should they beat the Cardinals? Yes, but do I love it? No. So We are going to go here now to the Big East, second of two Big East games today, as we've got the DePaul Blue Demons from the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois, hosting Marquette. I gotta go DePaul here, man. Shaka Smart's team has struggled so much this season. Obviously, I'm talking about the Golden Eagles over with Marquette. This is a team 6-12 this season, but 1-6 in the Big East, with their only victory being a 1-point win over Xavier. It's a team that's just struggled this season, and a lot of their games are non-competitive. Well, relatively uncompetitive. Marquette's first game in the Big East, losing by 9 points at home to the Georgetown Hoyas. It's Georgetown's only victory so far in Big East play. You go to Creighton, lose by 21 points. You play Seton Hall, they beat you by 6. You go to UConn, lose by 16. Xavier win by just 1, Nova lost by 3, and then going to St. John's and losing 92-68. As for the Blue Demons, 2-4 in the Big East, not much better, I understand, but the momentum, again, that's a huge thing in college basketball. The momentum is on the side of DePaul, as they have won 2 out of their last 3 games and played a more competitive game than at least expected over at UConn. Obviously, the Huskies by far the best team in the Big East, undefeated. We'd obviously expect them to win the regular season championship and likely the tournament championship as well, but DePaul plays a respectable game at UConn. Sure, they're trailing pretty much the entire game. I don't know if they ever had the lead in that game. Yeah, they didn't. They were losing from pillar to post, but DePaul hangs around. And it's not just a pure UConn blowout. And I understand the past and the history of the struggles for the Blue Demons. I mean, we're not that far off of DePaul just being the bottom of the barrel, every game loser that they've been in the Big East. We're slightly beyond that, but obviously we're not too far removed from it. But hey, going into the UConn game, back-to-back wins at home against Xavier and Georgetown, and they're back at home here. And they beat Xavier in a fairly high-scoring game. They beat the Musketeers 86-77. They played that low-scoring game against Georgetown. They win it 56-50. And now here comes Marquette on over to Wintrust to take them on. Guys, Marquette's been horrible this season. And I kind of want to think, like, okay, eventually they're going to turn around. Eventually they're going to put it together. I mean, I know, again, this team lost players from last season, notable guys like David Joplin, like Cam Jones, who obviously is now with the Indiana Pacers. But for the most part, again, this is just, the guys who've been waiting at Marquette. We're looking at Chase Ross. We're looking at Nigel James. These guys have been around the Golden Eagles for a little bit. And again, these have been players who have been within the system, in the program, with Shaka Smart. Well, Nigel James is a freshman, but I mean, these are players, even like their bench guys, though. I mean, these guys have been around at Marquette, and this team has just struggled mightily. Again, the Golden Eagles expected to be, or at least they've been a top team in the Big East for the last couple seasons. Hell, 2 years ago, they were a number 2 seed. I actually watched them play in Indiana against Western Kentucky in the first round of March Madness back in 2024 now. But anyways, this team's just struggled. Straight up, they have not played well this season. You're going to get different nights from James and from Ross, but I think DePaul actually beats them here. I mean, Marquette's got 1 win all year long in the Big East. It's a home game against Xavier by 1 point. DePaul's at home, and again, momentum is on DePaul's side. DePaul kicks off Big East play losing their first 3, but okay, look who they lost to. I'm not trying to sell you on DePaul being a legitimate contender in the Big East, obviously. That's not what I'm trying to do. I don't think DePaul is going to do anything of note. I just think they're going to win this one specific game. But we do need to talk about the bottom of the Big East just being odd, because I mean, I have very different feelings about, legitimately, the bottom half of the Big East and the non-contenders. We're talking Xavier, DePaul, Butler, Georgetown, Providence, Marquette. Like, I know all these teams, and it's the Big East. Like, a lot of these teams can beat the higher-ranked teams in the conference as well, but it's a big scramble. But some more so, some of these teams actually have potential. Some of them do, and some of them I'm just like, what are you doing? And honestly, Marquette is one of the teams I'm just completely out on, man. They have disappointed all year long, and it starts with that first game at home in Wisconsin, against Georgetown. Georgetown comes in there. I remember we had Hoyas plus 5.5 or plus 6.5. And no, they win the game by 9 straight up. I'm not sold on Marquette. They have not found consistent scoring this season. And going on the road so far, they have not played good basketball. Lost by 21 points at Creighton. They lose by 6 over at UConn. They go to St. John's. They lose 92-68. They've not played good basketball on the road. And is DePaul any bit near those teams? Obviously not. But I think the Blue Demons are able to put one together. And we don't need them to win by that many points. I do feel weird having to take DePaul to cover 3 points. Again, that is the play here. DePaul minus 3. Feel a little bit, I need DePaul to not just win by points. It is odd, I understand. But I think it's a good spot, man. The way Marquette's played on the road and the way that they played all year long, I got to go DePaul here. DePaul led by CJ Gunn, averaging 13.5 points per game. NJ Benson's been really good for this team as well, but Gunn is their guy. Obviously, former Indiana Hoosier last year was his first season at DePaul. Never obviously started for Indiana. Was a rotational piece for Mike Woodson over in Bloomington, but comes to DePaul last season, becomes one of their better scorers, if not their best scorer, and he's still their best scorer now, averaging 13.5 points per game. NJ Benson has a real effect on games, though, averaging 10 and 7. He's essentially their center, always around the paint, had 16 rebounds against the Georgetown Hoyas on January 6th. So a capable team. I think they get it done here. I just think them being at home is going to play a big difference in this one. I'm not sold on Marquette. They have failed opportunity after opportunity so far this season, and I think I have to go with the Blue Demons here to cover 3. Full transparency, if this was a bigger slate of games, I probably wouldn't pick DePaul just because it's DePaul, but we're given 7 games, so I believe this is one of the games that we have to pick, and I do like this more than Ohio going to Ball State and winning, and Dayton having to win by 18 points against the Loyola Chicago Ramblers. So I'm going to go DePaul at home, -3 to cover in Chicago. On to our final best bet of the video, we close things with the nightcap, as we are going to yet again talk about the Boise State Broncos. And, I'd probably pick this game regardless of the limited schedule or not. You know where we're going, Colorado State here on the road. I think taking underdogs in the Mountain West, I think is going to continue to play fairly well for us. But you know what, hold on. No, it's taking underdogs against Boise State. And sorry, no, just picking against Boise State. Sure, is the time gonna come where Boise State finally breaks through and proves us wrong and blows a team out? Maybe, but guys, I'm willing to say that that's going to get held off until January 24th, where they host the Air Force Falcons, okay? Next 2 games, we're taking Colorado State here. We're hoping Colorado State gets them, obviously. We need the Rams tonight to cover 5.5 points. But then we're looking at their next game in Laramie, Wyoming against the Wyoming Cowboys. I'm going to be taking Wyoming there, as long as we like what we see, obviously, tonight. But we're looking at Boise versus Colorado State, and the Broncos have lost now 4 consecutive games after they screwed themselves over in San Diego against the San Diego State Aztecs. I'm not going to let them off the hook here. They had multiple chances to win it in multiple overtimes. Obviously, it went 3 OTs between the Broncos and the Aztecs, and they just failed to capitalize on mistakes and capitalize on leads. Up by 4 with 8 seconds to go, up by 3 with 6 seconds to go. You don't foul up 3, and obviously that's what happens. So Boise has not won since that SDSU game. We took Grand Canyon right after to go to Boise and cover an extra mile. The Lopes didn't just cover, they won the game by 17 points. We then took Utah State, the best team in the Mountain West by far, top 25 team in the country, Utah State, to go to Boise State and win, and they obviously blew Boise State out 93-68. I don't think Boise had a lead. I don't think they went up 2-0, so I don't think they had a lead in that entire game. And then most recently, we just took UNLV. UNLV was a 3.5-point underdog at home against Boise State. They don't just cover the spread, no, they beat Boise. I'm going to take Colorado State here to cover. Again, the mindset for Boise is just win. It is just win and move on to their next game, because they have struggled. They don't care about covering points. They don't care about looking dominant. They just need to win. And I believe this is the perfect buy low spot in Colorado State. I know I'm picking a team that just lost to the Fresno State Bulldogs. I know. Okay, losing to Fresno, not the best. That's usually just reserved to San Jose State and Air Force. But bear with me now. I'm still going to take Colorado State. It's a perfect buy low spot. I know they haven't been great on the road so far, but I mean, hey, if the GCU victory means anything, they did go to Grand Canyon and beat that team by 10. I know that gets completely wiped out by the fact that they went to Save Mart and lost to Fresno State, but I do think it's a decent enough opportunity for Colorado State and a buy low spot because of how poorly Boise State has played. Guys, Boise State has no direction offensively. I mean, they finally got Drew Fielder going again, and we had questioned a lot, like, why had Drew Fielder not been playing big minutes? He played 30-something against San Diego State, and then he went out and played 20 against GCU, 15 against Utah State, and it almost felt like, okay, Boise wasn't really going for it. Obviously, Fielder, their center, their best player. They've got other guys like Andrew Meadow and the former UCLA product and Dylan Andrews who also contribute, but Fielder, their center, is what their team is built upon. Did get bitched at the end of that game against SDSU, but that's neither here or there. They finally unleash him and play him, and obviously another overtime game. I don't think Boise's won an overtime game all year long, but an overtime game at UNLV, they have to play Fielder big minutes, and they go for it, and they lose. What happened the last time they played Drew Fielder? 38 minutes. He played exactly 38 minutes against SDSU and 38 minutes against UNLV. The next game, they only played him 20 against Grand Canyon, and then after that, they played him 15 against Utah State. I know he got in foul trouble against Utah State, but I just have a feeling he's not going to play big minutes tonight. I don't know. Because, I mean, we've seen that he's been in foul trouble before, and they just play him. But against GCU and Utah State, it was almost like that was an excuse to get Fielder off of the court. I don't know. I mean, they have been very cautious with their junior big, obviously, who they have high expectations for, and he's been their best guy, obviously, right? Former Georgetown Hoya over there in DC. But I think Colorado State can exploit that tonight. I really think it's a perfect buy low spot. I think Colorado State's getting way too many points. Personally, I think this is a pick 'em. But if I'm getting 5.5, I will absolutely go out and take the Rams on the road. I know they've been very disappointing. I know they just lost to Fresno State, but I think they're still able to come through. Their best player, Kyle Georgeson, has been out since I think it was the Utah State game. He got injured. He has not played since. He averaged 14 points per game prior to the injury. They've been now looking at players like Braden Rechter, Josh Pasquarelli, a transfer obviously from the Northeast, as last year he played at Marist, and Marist, oh man, Pasquarelli disappeared in the second half of the season, but that's neither here or there. The Marist Red Foxes, I still have a negative place in my heart for that team, but that's neither here or there. They screwed us so many times last season, then we started to fade them. But regardless, I think Colorado State's just at a perfect buy low spot. I think, Boise's just expected to win, and that makes sense because the Rams just lost to Fresno State. Watch the way Boise's playing. They don't close games. They blow leads. And this is a sluggish squad right now. They're back at home, sure, after going to Vegas, but I think Colorado State plays a competitive enough game, and Boise's not looking to cover. They're just looking to win. So I think Colorado State keeps it close. Folks, that'll do it for our college basketball best bets here on January 16th. If you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba